Simone says, in today's announcement, Slack talks about their challenge to distinguish themselves from their competitors. Would be interested in your thoughts on this stock. It sounds concerning. Thanks. So I'll start off this, guys, just to say that so I've had my head in a lot of different pies today, not even my fingers in a lot of different pies. I've had my head in a lot of different pies today. Just managed to clean off my face before I went on air with Tim at 3 o'clock. I had seen actually an analyst downgrade, not an announcement from the company. So if there's something that I haven't seen, let me know. But I think that analyst downgrade was talking about increased competition from the usual suspects, Microsoft, Zoom. And to that, I wanted to say about Slack is that Slack has really limited power to be an all-in-one type of collaboration tool, whereas Microsoft has Teams, which is this big tool that you can use for video conferencing. You can use it for work project management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Zoom is more now focused on video conferencing collaboration. So to me, this is an analyst who is pointing out some of the deficiencies long-term it might have to compete on a scale with a Microsoft or Zoom. But if you're buying Slack, for what it provides to customers today, which is still a very unique product and a robust one. I mean, the three of us use Slack throughout the day today to prepare for this show. There's no tool quite like it. It doesn't really change the investment thesis as far as I'm concerned. I don't expect Slack to suddenly raise a lot of money and be this formidable competitor to Microsoft Teams. Now, do I think Microsoft Teams can take some of Slack's future market share? Sure. Is Zoom likely to do so? A little less likely, but is Slack likely to become a video conferencing tool only to compete with Zoom? Why would they want to do that? So it doesn't really change my investing thesis. If I were to own Slack, I'm not a Slack owner. Curious if either of you guys follow this company, what your thoughts are on it. And I'm sorry if the company itself announced something that I didn't see.
Okay. For me, Slack is a company that I have followed. I've been kind of intrigued by. And the reason is, like you said, we at the Motley Fool use Slack to communicate with one another. I've found it to be a useful tool. But thus far, because there are so many other options out there that bring different capabilities, I have not made the jump to being an investor. Now, they recently came out with a more robust set of tools. They came out with something called Slack Connect, which basically adds more tools that allows users to collaborate, not only with users inside their organization, but also outside the organization, so that they can share information. It might be with suppliers, it might be with large customers. So I find that to be intriguing. But thus far, I still haven't made that leap, and I'm watching to see how well adoption of Slack Connect accelerates. If it does really well, I think this could move the needle for the company. But thus far, I just haven't been able to bring myself to buy into the thesis that Slack is going to disrupt email, or it's going to disrupt Microsoft Teams. I think it's a useful tool, but it may not be for everybody. What do you think, Asit?
Yeah, I'll defer to Daniel. Just gave a brief thought on that, so I should let Daniel weigh in.
Yeah, sure. That's one of the reasons I said on this one, that I don't have too much of an opinion, is just because I feel like mine is maybe more negative than your average fool. But I'll share it just so people can hear it. I just think that Slack, if they were targeting programmers, they would love the UI and everyone would gobble it up. I think that, but the reality is the type of people making decisions for which collaboration services to use at organizations aren't necessarily, looking for the slickest UI and the user experience that is slightly better. And I live here in Colorado Springs. There's a lot of defense companies, government companies. And I just constantly hear of people just, they'll switch to Teams and they'll just straight up think it's better. And a lot of big companies use that. So it's just my weird anecdotal take. I don't always, invest like this, but because of the experience I've seen and the way I've seen people talk about Slack, even though I think it is better, I think they're having a trouble making everyone recognize that because they're not targeting programmers. They're just targeting, your everyday knowledge worker. So that's just my anecdotal take, if it's useful for anybody.
Fair enough. A balanced view from two fools.